In Canada, approximately 21% of the population is under the age of 18. This equates to 7.3 million people legally unable to participate in the democratic process. As future educators, it is our professional obligation to provide our students with the tools they need to be active citizens. But how do we position students to be agents of change if they aren't legally allowed to participate in a democratic society? The Alberta Program of Studies emphasizes the development of the attitudes, skills, and knowledge that will enable students to become active, engaged, and responsible citizens. However, traditional teaching practices don't seem to reflect these intended outcomes. It is our goal to explore the ways in which students can become agents of change while following the big ideas of the Alberta Program of Studies. Currently, in Alberta classrooms, there seems to be a disconnect between teaching citizenship and teaching how to be active citizens. The current attitude seems to be we are here to defend democracy and not practice it. This is an enormous unresolved issue in the contemporary classroom. So, how can we address this, as well as create change within our own students? Buckingham and Han respectively explain that young people often identify not being listened to or taken seriously by politicians. This is a major facet to their alienation from the political system. Additionally, because students are under 18, they have no legal rights to take part in the voting process, thus furthering their disconnection from the democratic world. As the Alberta Social Studies program outlines, it is our responsibility as teachers to challenge the status quo and promote viable pedagogical approaches that position students as agents of change. However, this does not necessarily have to involve becoming engaged in formal political processes, like voting and joining a political party. Perhaps what we need to do is change the way we conceptualize citizenship. For example, in 2007, Greenpeace launched a campaign to raise awareness about the protection of humpback whales that were being threatened by the Japanese fishing industry. As a part of this initiative, they created a public online voting system to choose a name for one of the humpbacks. By naming this whale, they felt it would strengthen the connection between the public and the cause. Several Indigenous names such as Echo, Mira, and Aurora were top contenders. However, one young person suggested the name Mr. Splashy Pants, possibly intended as a joke. As the voting process began, a student from Arizona loved the name Mr. Splashy Pants so much that he rigged the voting system to vote for the name 120 times per minute for 38 minutes straight. This shot Mr. Splashy Pants from 5% to 75% in one day. This ignited sites like Reddit and Boing Boing that promote popular stories to the online community to join in the fight. Mr. Splashy Pants won by a landslide, even after Greenpeace extended the voting period to encourage Indigenous names. In his TED Talk, Alexis Ohanian states, "The example of Mr. Splashy Pants demonstrates the power of the internet as a platform for people of all ages to participate in the democratic process. By anthropomorphizing the whale and putting the voting online, Mr. Splashy became a huge phenomenon that allowed for individuals to affect change. Even if Mr. Splashy wasn't the first choice for a name, he still drew massive attention to the Japanese whaling industry to stop the senseless killing of humpback whales." In his article, In Search of Good Citizens, Alan Sears suggests voting is often the most basic way in which citizens can and should participate in their own governance. However, due to age legality, voting is not an accessible means of being an active citizen for our students. So what else can be done to position students as agents of change? As Sears argues, recent research indicates a trend for young people not to join political parties or run for office, but to participate in alternate avenues of change, such as community-based activism and service. This is a more realistic goal for promoting engaged citizenship within schools, especially within the elementary curriculum, because it begins within the community. In our classrooms, it is essential to demonstrate that our students have the power to not only affect change, but be participants of change in the community, regardless of their age. As we have seen with the example of Mr. Splashy Pants, goal-based initiatives can ignite passions and motivations in the hearts of students. These goals are used as objectives that implement action and application into the student's real life. An example of a goal-based activity closer to home was prevalent here in Calgary this summer. The devastating flood of June 2013 affected almost everyone. The downtown area was like a city underwater, and the roads were like rivers flowing from one end to another. Being a part of the rebuild was a necessity for some, but a choice for others. Asking our own students what they feel can be done in terms of helping our flooded community becomes a great way to position them as agents of meaningful change here at home. Many schools in High River, for example, were completely destroyed, including all the books, desks, technology, and infrastructure. The school went from a beautiful learning environment with amazing technology into a toxic cesspool. Several of the schools began their year with no supplies or school to learn in. Using this one specific event as a springboard for involvement, many students use this opportunity to get involved. One example of this successfully being practiced was the backpack program by the Parent Link Center, which was able to donate over $25,000 in school supplies to the students of High River. A large portion of this was directly contributed by other students across the province as a result of goal-based classroom initiatives. While local disasters are an obvious source to become active, there are still many other ways that students can affect change in their own lives. Petitions, letters to government, fundraising, editorials, PSAs, blogs, and programs like Sponsor a Child all have roots in positioning students as active citizens who are capable of affecting change. Mr. Splashy Pants demonstrated the power of the internet for expressing one's voice. By positioning our elementary students on this platform early, it will demonstrate how their voices can be heard locally and internationally. Blogs, podcasts, websites, YouTubes, and Skype conversations are all avenues in which community, national, and global action can be accomplished. As future educators of elementary-age students, it is especially important to begin a dialogue about affecting change at a classroom level. Bullying and cyberbullying, for example, are useful tools to explain to students how to become agents of change. With 1 in 5 kids in Canada being bullied, topics like this can position students to be more active in prevention or intervention of bullying in their later years. Using the classroom as a platform for community, students can create a safe environment to learn about sensitive issues like bullying, as well as learn tools to handle these situations. By learning prevention methods and promotion methods like creating posters, we are then helping the students to become agents of change even within the elementary classroom. It is up to teachers to introduce to their students the many paths of citizenship that do not have any formal political involvement. The formal political options are emphasized by society. It is our job to promote other options and increase student engagement as citizens. Creating agents of change does not need government, it simply requires an altruistic action with a creative spirit. By expanding our own perceptions of democratic citizenship and promoting these avenues to our classes, we open a door for students to be able to see their own political influence within their individual lives, even without being legally able to cast a vote. As Nancy Astor said, the main dangers in this life are the people who want to change everything or nothing.